Well, a very windy, slightly wintry hello to you. I'm at a place called Buchanan Hill. It's part of that sandstone ridge that I've mentioned before in some of my blogs. It's a whole ridge of very soft sandstone that runs underneath Liverpool, under the River Mersey, and then strikes across the county of Cheshire. And it makes some beautiful places to come and walk and to get a view of the Cheshire Plains. Now this is an interesting part. If I just move sideways, turn the camera around, see that there? That's an ancient cartway. And that dip that you're seeing in the ground, that's just erosion because of thousands of human feet, horses, cattle, carts of different kinds, slowly wearing away the sandstone. And it's that soft that it's actually quite easy to do. So it looks like a dip in the ground, but almost certainly that when this was first becoming a pathway back in prehistoric times, that would have just been level with the land either side of it. But that's the nature of foot traffic on soft stone. It's incredible, isn't it, how it literally has carved out the landscape. So I'm going to walk a little bit further just to get to the edge. I'll walk with you actually. Isn't that amazing? Now we're looking at Liverpool straight ahead there. I'll just give you a quick pan all the way across. So in the last vlog we were talking about that episode where Jesus and the disciples are in a boat on the Sea of Galilee and a huge storm brews up out of nowhere, and it's a storm of such violence that these experienced sailors, these fishermen by trade, are seriously afraid for their lives. And they turn to Jesus and ask for his help, and of course he does. He demonstrates his authority by commanding the wind and the waves to stop, and they do. But before he does that, he has a little dig at the disciples, probably with a twinkle in his eye, I think. But he's saying, you have little faith. Or in other words, why didn't you sort this out? And they must have been thinking to themselves, what is he talking about? How could we sort something like this out? But he's been hinting for a while now that they have more authority than they realize, and they're not being chosen to operate in their own power and might, but that he's giving them his own power and might. So in the feeding of the 5,000, when they'd come to Jesus and say, look, we need to feed these people, he says, well, you give them something to eat, which again is absurd, because you think, well, what are they supposed to do? But he's chipping away and saying, look, you've got to stop thinking purely in the natural. So fast forward to Matthew chapter 9 and chapter 10, at the very beginning of chapter 10. And in Matthew chapter 9, we see Jesus doing what he'd been doing for a while now. He's traveling around the countryside, he's speaking in the synagogues, he's casting out demons, and he's healing people from all kinds of sickness and disease. So that's long-term and short-term illnesses and any kind of demonic oppression, because that's how he's dismantling the kingdom of the evil one. That's an illegitimate kingdom, and it only ever got started because Adam and Eve gave up the authority God gave them and handed it to Satan, in effect. And right at the end of Matthew chapter 9, we really get an insight into the compassionate heart of Jesus. He's looking at these people who are coming out to listen to him, and it says he saw them harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd to protect them. They're being harassed by the enemy and bound up and oppressed, and there's nobody there to help them. And he turns to the larger group of disciples who've been following him around the countryside and said, you need to pray to the Lord of the harvest that more workers are sent out into this field, because the harvest is ripe. And then he turns to the 12 of his own disciples and he says, I am sending you out and I am giving you authority over evil spirits and all kinds of sickness and disease. So now he's not hinting, he's just flat out telling them, look, I'm giving you my authority. I'm giving you authority over demonic oppression of any kind, all kinds of sickness and all kinds of disease. Now, as I read the New Testament, that means we also have that authority. Now, don't take my word for it. You need to read these passages, read the New Testament in its entirety, preferably, but at least these two passages, Matthew chapter 9 and chapter 10, and see what you think. Because if that's right, and if we have been given that authority, then it's not our job to go to where sick people are and then pray that Jesus will heal them. It's our job to go to where sick people and the demonically oppressed people are and set them free in the name of Jesus, based on the authority we have been given by him to do exactly that. We're doing his work in his name for his purpose. And that makes us very, very powerful in terms of building the kingdom on this earth.